Welcome back to Fashion here. So today I'm going to be doing my season preview for the Sauber F1 team. So it's already that time of year again. Calendars flipped over to February, and with the F1 team launches a couple weeks away, with winter testing, I think 3 weeks away as of the recording of this video, it's time to get back into the swing of things, talking about the upcoming F1 season. So we're going to be starting our season previews. We're going to do them in reverse championship order from last year. Last year, I did it based on when the teams did their reveals, their team launches. Of course, this year with everyone basically doing the launch on February 18th, it doesn't really make sense to do it that way in that kind of order. So we're just going to do reverse constructors championship order. So first, talking a little bit about the Sauber team. They are, let's see, where are we? They are based in Switzerland, in Hinwil, the only team really that has their main factory outside of either Italy or the UK. Their team principal to start the year will be Mattia Binotto, but I believe April 1st it will be Jonathan Wheatley, a employee who has basically been brought over from Red Bull. So an interesting hire there, and definitely a promotion of sorts for Wheatley. Very, very similar, it feels, to when James Vowell went from his head of strategy role at Mercedes to being the team principal at Williams. Chief Technical Officer will continue to be Mattia Binotto, and Technical Director is James Key. Not sure if that's really a good thing, given that Key's results in this set of technical regulations has not been stellar, I would say, starting with the McLaren 2022 started 23, and with the Saubers that have come out the last year and a bit. And of course, for engine, this is a team that uses Ferrari engines, but this is the final year with those engines, as starting 2026, this team will become the full Audi works team using an Audi engine. Audi have basically owned this team since the end of 2022, so they've basically had 2 years where this is really their team, which is basically just their team without any Audi branding on that. And the reason is because of that Ferrari engine. So let's see, taking a look at, oh dear, this is not going super smoothly. There we go. Okay, super smoothly indeed. So next, starting out looking at some of Sauber's stats from this past season. A pretty horrific season, I should say, for the team. This is a year which produced their worst results in terms of just points since 2016, where I believe they only scored 2 points the whole season. But 2024, 4 points, that ranked dead last in the constructors, hence why I'm doing this video first. Their average pole gap 1.559 seconds, again ranks dead last there. And for average minimum finishing position, 13.67, which then ranks dead last. So they were last by quite a ways for most of the season. At some tracks, they were competitive, like Qatar, where Zhou got their only points of the season. And just taking a look at this team's results over the past 5 seasons, from 2020, where they had their engine kind of nuked by Ferrari, basically getting their engine forced. Ferrari was forced to change their engine because of the fuel flow regulations, and so really, really poor season there. Did improve a little bit 2021, and again, new regulations 2022. They produced their best car over the past 5 years, where Bottas was, I believe, 11th in the drivers' championship that year. And they were a decent midfield team. They finished 6th. They got that 6th just by the skin of their teeth, but basically ever since then it's been going downhill. 2023, 2024, again, you can see the line in both qualifying and the race. It's basically just gotten worse to a point where they're pretty much the F1's only real true backmarker, I would say, at the end of the 2024 season. Now, for doing the previews this year, I wanted to add a couple of interesting historical things. So we'll be looking at the 10 most experienced drivers for each team, like who've had the most Grand Prix starts, as well as who have had the most success, whether it be in podiums or in points. So looking at the drivers who have driven the most Grand Prix for Sauber, so this is going all the way back to the mid-90s, and including their time when they were kind of BMW Sauber in the mid-2000s. So number 1, Nick Heidfeld, 125 Grand Prix. Number 2, Marcus Ericsson, 81 Grand Prix. Number 3, third, Raikkonen, 74 Grand Prix. That's between both his first season F1 and his final 3. Bottas and Zhou basically tied for 4th on this list with 68. They did spend 3 full seasons there, but of course with recent seasons being much longer than they were in, say, the 90s, 2000s, again, it does, mean that's much easier for the current drivers to move up these kinds of lists quickly. Frentzen 6, 64 Grand Prix, 7th Giovinazzi 60, 8th Kubica 59, 9th Kobayashi 58, and 10th Massa with 52. Now, this isn't the most successful team, so we're just going to be looking at points, and unfortunately, this is points that are not adjusted to the current 25-point system. So for the drivers who had the most success really with this factory, Heidfeld, Kubica in the mid-2000s, their point totals are going to be much lower than they otherwise would be if they had basically competed under a 25-point system. But nonetheless, it really highlights, just how poor Sauber's performance has been for much of their history. The fact that Heidfeld and Kubica, with that poor, much more reduced point system, the fact they're still number 1 and 2 on this list. So Heidfeld 194 points, number 2, Kubica 137 points, 3rd Kobayashi 122, 4th Perez 80, 5th Raikkonen 66, 6th Bottas 59, 7th Hulkenberg 51. Of course, Hulkenberg did drive for this team in 2013 when it was basically just normal Sauber, not Kick Sauber, whatever they're called this year. So again, he coming back to this team, that's something we'll get on talking about in a bit. But of course, he's coming back to this team for 2025. 8th Frentzen, 42 points, 9th Leclerc, 39, and 10th Felipe Nasser with 29 points. Now, taking a look at their driver lineup for this year, all new driver lineup, I believe the only team, actually Haas as well. Haas is the other team where it's brand new driver lineup. So Nico Hulkenberg, of course, coming over from the Haas team. He is from Germany. He's 37 years of age at the start of the season, and this is going to be his 12th full season in Formula One. He has 227 starts in his F1 career with 571 points. His career best in terms of championship ranking is 7th, and that was in 2018 driving for Renault. He's a guy who's unfortunately famous for not having any podiums, despite the fact that he's been a very solid midfield driver for pretty much his entire career. And I think unfortunately that's not going to be a record that goes away anytime soon. Joining him is your reigning Formula 2 champion, Gabriel Bortoleto, from Brazil. He's 20 years of age, and this is, of course, his first season F1. And unlike some of the other rookies that we'll be talking about in a couple videos' times, he does not have any starts to his name, so has not yet made his F1 debut, and that, of course, is expected to come at the Australian Grand Prix in about a month and a half's time, and as a result, doesn't have a career best in F1. I think it's a pretty interesting lineup. I think it's has a really good mix of experience in Hulkenberg and youth in Bortoleto. I think both of them should be pretty fast. And again, Bortoleto, rookie Formula 3, rookie Formula 2 champion. Just looking at the rookie Formula 2 GP2 champions, basically the best of those bunches, your Hamiltons, your Leclercs, your Rosbergs, very, very elite drivers. And again, the worst of those rookie F2/GP2 champions is actually his future teammate, Nico Hulkenberg. So again, worst case scenario for Bortoleto, if he, based on those projections, if he turns out to be, just a solid midfield driver, much like Hulkenberg has been for his entire career, that's not really the end of the world, in my opinion. But again, I think he's a driver who has a very, very high ceiling. So again, it'll be really interesting to see how he does this season compared to Hulkenberg, who I think, again, is a very solid benchmark for a teammate. Now, finishing up this video, I want to go over my race model and qualifying model projections for this season, just, as an interesting thing to include in this video. So, for two different models, qualifying and the race are obviously separate. So for Hulkenberg, modified race score, so that's basically the score plus mods for both age and for experience. Obviously, for Hulkenberg, for age, the qualifying pace is not going to be as good as it was when he was younger, although he has been pretty good, objectively speaking, the last couple of years. And for Bortoleto, obviously, race pace is probably going to be a bit of an issue right away, given that he's a rookie. So again, those are all things that you kind of have to take into account. And again, Bortoleto's a complete rookie, so there's no data really to go on. So I just had to put some numbers into what I felt was kind of realistic. So modified race score for Hulkenberg 0.96, for Bortoleto 0.42, and assuming this was basically using the bench backmarker equations, so this is going to be around, assuming that the team gets around 15 points or so, it expects Hulkenberg to get 62% of the team's points, with Bortoleto getting 38. Points difference about 2, so this is very, very small, but if the team's only getting 15 points total, that's still pretty close. And finishing position difference on average, it expects there to be a 0.56 position gap, with Hulkenberg coming out on top there. In qualifying, it's also projected to be pretty close, with a median qualifying delta of 0.66 in Hulkenberg's favor. So again, expect this to be one of the more closer teammate battles on the grid this year, just because Bortoleto's coming in back-to-back F3, F2 champion. So I think expectations for him are going to be quite a bit higher than, for example, say Jack Doohan or for Isaac Hadjar. So there you go. There's my preview for Sauber's 2025 F1 season. I think on the whole, expectations not super high. And I think really the only reason I think people, perhaps neutral fans will be watching this will be to see how Bortoleto does. Because otherwise, I think they're basically a team that's waiting for 2026, waiting for when they become Audi. And we're going to see, how the Audi engine is. And we're going to see, if the development, the investment or lack thereof over the past couple of years, how much that will affect them as a full works team. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.